of the town of Southampton work session. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag of
of
the
the
United
United
States
States
of
of
America,
America,
of America,
to the
and to the
republic,
republic
which is
which
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with
liberty
liberty and justice.
justice for all.
Okay, so will Secretary Treasurer Horowitz please call the roll?
President Eric Schultz,
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Scott M. Horowitz, I am here. Trustee Ed J. Warner Jr. will be late. Trustee William Pell IV
Present.
and Trustee Ann Welker.
Here,
All right. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Okay, very good. So first item on the agenda, Bill Pell wants to talk about dredging for oysters and meecox.
Yes, I like to, spoke to a lot of the baymen, and they would like to, like we did the year before and the year before that, the month of April, let them dredge for oysters there. 1,500 per man on the boat, limit 2 men on a boat. It's good for the bottom, good for the oyster to help break them up and spread them around the bottom.
Are we going to spread them out in some of the other areas? Are we allowed to do that? Or are they in a closed area or something?
On that, right now, they're all in open area. They will spread them out when they cull them and move around. I have it, and I asked them, we can ask them to dump some in other parts of the bay.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of that. I mean, instead of just putting them right back in the same place again, put some down by Horse Mill Lane, put some of the other lanes there. At least 4 or 5 bushels per day or so like that of culls that they throw out. You know,
Yeah, we can put that in the resolution that they have to move. Put that as it in the covenant.
either that or they can put them in some bushel baskets and give them to our guys, and maybe our guys can throw them out. Whichever works out the best.
Probably easier for them to do it, less handling.
Okay.
Because when they load up the column board and they go pick through them, they can run over there and pick through them and dump them there.
Yeah. Okay. As long as they spread them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
are there any that will be brought in and used for culch? I know that Ed had mentioned something about that.
What do you mean by culch? You mean for spawners?
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it.
Okay, I think we just need to check with Ed about that because he had an idea. And Trustee Pell, I just wanted to say this is a wonderful idea in the area that I cover. I appreciate you taking the initiative on this project, and I look forward to working with you since it is the area that I cover. So I look forward to working with you on it to have another successful dredging season for oysters in Meecox.
Yes, to thank Ed Warner because he had the bayman to call me on it. Plus, we discussed it about a month and a half ago. You were there, and I was waiting for you to pick up the ball on it, but you never did. So I helped you out.
All right. It's getting done.
Yes, that's why we're here.
Let's talk about these commercial shellfish licenses.
I think on that, I would like to hold that over to Ed Gitson.
Okay.
Okay.
And the raise a clam date too?
No, the razor dates just moved that from September, I think it's September 15th right now, or to December 1st, because there's a lot of small razor clams in that area, I was told by a lot of baymen, and they would suggest that if we moved it, we'll keep people going in there and killing the small ones.
Yeah, right now, section 14 of the Blue Book has it west of Ponquag Bridge closes May 15, reopens December 2. East of Ponquag, May 15, reopens September 16.
Yeah, so make them both the same dates. East and west.
So we have to do that on the next meeting under special authority. We can do that under section 16 with the basis articulated for protection of shellfish.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Sean, will that be done by notice of public hearing or just a resolution?
Resolution citing special authority, section 16.
Okay, you'll be preparing that, Sean?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah, Sean, that's good because, you know, it's sensitive and it really has to be gone over with a fine tooth comb.
Right. Okay,
Thank you.
so let's go into waterfowl hunting location permit applications. Jessica going to handle that?
Yes, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good, Jess.
We'll start with yours, Eric. So the Bay Constables, just to give you guys a little background, the Bay Constables sent out the NOVs, which I think you are all aware of. Back in February, they gave everyone 30 days to respond to the NOVs. We did receive a few responses from a few people, which are listed here. And I'm just going to go through them one by one and we'll decide what we want to do.
Okay,
So the first one is Christopher Ott. He received an NOV for failure to call and arrange for visual inspection for his duck boat and failure to have it in place grassed by 12/31. He did not reach out to us, and he did have one other prior issue with us back in 2019-2020 season. He had a late renewal. So I don't know how you guys want to move forward with this one.
what has been done with it? Has he contacted you and he's grassed it in, or what's going on?
No,
Nothing, no
so
response?
it's already, so the season ended and then the Bay Constable sent the NOV saying he never did it. They
Uh-huh.
gave him the opportunity to like reach out to like rectify it with us and he just didn't reach out.
Okay,
So do we want to like revoke it, deny it? I don't know. Do you want to let him keep this spot for renewal for next year?
put it off till the next meeting. Let me talk to the Bay Constables about it.
Okay,
Okay,
hold this one.
right.
I think that Jesse Fritz is here in the attendees
Okay,
area, Charles. He's the next one on the list, Jesse Fritz,
Okay.
number 25, NOV response discussion. He did receive an NOV and he did reach out to the office here.
okay,
He just kind of wanted to talk to you guys about the NOV and
I'm
this.
letting them in.
okay, go ahead. Where's the blind?
His
location.
blind is in Moriches Bay, north of Layla Court, Seatuck Cove.
Okay,
Yeah, you got it.
See, we got Trustee Warner here now.
Hello, everybody. I'm on.
okay, good.
And
And Jesse,
Mark
are
the
you on?
records. Warner's in the house.
Jesse, turn your video on.
And I don't know if I can hear you either.
He's unmuted, but his video, there he is. All right,
See me all?
got you.
Yeah. Is your headphone up here? We can't hear you. Is this thing up there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize.
No problem.
How are you doing, Jesse?
Good. Thank you. I just wanted to kind of explain my story. I greatly apologize for the violation. In talking to the Bay Constable, Officer Franks, I made the initial call when I applied or renewed my application for the season, and I only made that call for the season. I was under the impression that this was a one-time call and that we were checking out the vessel. This is my mistake. In talking to Officer Franks, he made it very clear that this is a continuous call as you go out hunting to verify not only use, but your vessel and whatnot while you're hunting during the season. So I apologize for that. I didn't, and oh, by the way, I didn't hunt much this season. I sent a picture and I put the times that I hunted in an email, but this year with COVID and work, I didn't get out much. So I don't anticipate this being a problem next year. And I actually have a blind that I would like to put in the spot if you guys allow me to continue hunting there. It was a misunderstanding on my part.
Okay,
Jesse received the blind back in 2018 from the wait list and has had no prior issues.
Thanks, Jess.
No problem.
Okay. All right.
How would you like to proceed, President Schultz?
I'm okay with granting them, renewal on it.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Just keep in contact with everybody,
I am too, but I think you should contact Rich Franks about placement of a blind in that location, making sure that it's in a good spot, not too close to shore, not, in the proper location. So that would be my recommendation, and I'm okay with having him.
Yeah, we'd have to
reissue
update the
the permit.
paperwork.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll put it
I'm
on for
okay
the,
with, I'm okay with it too.
all right, well, thanks for coming in, Mr. Fritz, and explaining the situation.
Okay, thank you, guys.
We
Okay.
appreciate your efforts.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
All right, thank you.
So the next person is James Conkle, permit number 272. This is similar to Christopher Ott. We sent out the NOV and we did not hear back from him. And it was for failure to arrange for visual inspection and put his blind in.
Okay, all right.
This is in Peconic River.
So we're gonna have to move to deny this. We have to really keep on top of these now because, duck hunting is coming under increasing pressure and we have to follow the rules, really carefully. So you made the effort to contact him several times. He hasn't responded. So we'll move to deny this at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate, Eric. He didn't even make any effort to go hunting or call even to let us know he wasn't hunting. So it's a
Right.
shame he didn't call earlier in the season and we could have given this blind spot to another hunter. That's the shame of it. So.
Right.
So I'll prepare a resolution to give it to someone else on the wait list.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Next one is Adam Kibble. This was actually a brand new one that they applied for. Adam Kibble applied for this past fall, and it was, approved in
Where is it?
Quantuck Bay. The Bay Council sent the NOV out, and they did respond saying that they just didn't know that similar to Jesse, they didn't understand the rules and regulations. They didn't realize that they had, and I don't know if this person, I invited them to come to the meeting, so I don't know if they're in the
They did respond though.
queue here. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like anyone is waiting. They did respond and they said, let me just find what they said to me. She says, Adam Kibble's wife, Christine, reached out to me and she said, I hope you're having a good start to the new year. I received a notice of violation for failure to arrange the visual inspection for our location. Attached is a copy of our waterfowl hunting location permit. I called and spoke to the Bay Constable, Rich, who requested the dates that we hunted this year and a picture of the blind. He asked me to forward it to the town trustees. And then the dates that we hunted were 11/26, 12/16, and 1/7, and she attached the photo.
So they did actively hunt the location.
They
So,
did hunt, they just didn't realize that they had to call and arrange for the visual inspection.
and
Okay.
no other previous violations.
No, it was a brand new location that they created. They proposed it and created it this year.
Right.
Newbie.
recall that one. That's down by Exchange Point, I think. Right. All right. Okay, so I'll move to renew the permit.
Okay.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay.
All right, moving on to Trustee Warner. Legrand, Klager, and Nicholas Klager, permit number 85, NOV response discussion. So this one, they got the NOV and they did respond with a letter. And they are not, I just want to check and see that they're not in the waiting room because I invited them to come.
And what was the notice of violation for?
The notice of violation reads, failure to have blind in place grasped by 12/31, failure to arrange for visual inspection. So Mr. Klager wrote to you guys all on February 26th, and it's quite a lengthy letter, but I'll try my best to keep it short. I am in receipt of your notice of violation relating to my waterfowl location 85 southeast corner of Warner's Island. As requested, I've enclosed proof of registration for this location. I've been waterfowl hunting on Warner's Island location number 85 since 1974. In 1999, when new rules were implemented, I started registering my blinds and followed the rules put in place for permanent blinds. In the past few years, I switched to hunting out of a floating duck blind rather than a permanent duck blind. I boat out to the island, hunt from the boat, and boat back to the dock. I do not leave the duck boat at the island. In the past, I always followed the rules associated with a permanent blind. While I understand that ignorance is not a valid excuse, when I switched to a floating blind, I truly did not know that I was required to arrange for a visual inspection. Had I known this, I would have contacted the Bay Constables this past December 2020 and January 2021 when I hunted location 85 using my floating duck blind / boat. I hope I will be able to continue hunting location 85. I now understand the rules of floating blind and will comply in the future. I appreciate any consideration you can offer me.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the spot. I know the hunter. He's hunted it for many years, and you know he's an avid hunter. So it sounds like switching over to a duck boat versus a blind was the issue. So I think moving forward, we should notify these duck boat owners if they switch from a blind to a duck boat that they still will have to make this same call they historically have done. This seems to be a misunderstanding amongst the hunters and the trustees.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
they signed the notarized affidavit, like saying that they know that they have to do those things, just so you guys all know.
Okay,
Um,
well,
yeah, like there's a whole bunch of bullets on the affidavit that they sign every year in order to
okay.
get their permit.
Well, I guess in passing in the public, I will, remind the people that what has to be done with these floating blinds versus, or duck boats versus a blind, it's
Yeah.
the same thing for an inspection.
We'll
But
try
I'm
and give
okay
people
to,
a little bit more of a heads up in the office too.
yes.
So
But
how would you like to
I'm-
proceed?
Eric,
Yes.
are we okay to give it back to him?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay
Okay.
with it.
I am too.
I don't mean to interrupt,
Fine.
but this is also something that we could put up on the station. We could put the rules up if you want.
Well, that would be wonderful.
That'd be good.
Make a difference, but we can put it up.
Okay.
Thanks, Charles.
That's a great idea, Charles. And Sage.
So the next one is Bernie Shimeda, permit number 96. He actually reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, and he just said, he emailed me and said that he does not wish to renew this location 96. He would like to return to the wait list.
Okay,
Right?
All right.
Okay, next is Trustee Pell. We have Timothy Lopez, permit number 209. This
Where is that? Where is that?
at North Sea Harbor.
Okay.
It is between Conscience Point National Wildlife Refuge and Conscience Point.
Oh, it's on the west side. Okay.
And he got an NOV for failure to arrange for a visual inspection, duck boat location in place, and failure to have it in place in grass by 12/31. And he did not reach out to us.
You got it from both of the spots.
He did, yeah. That's in the other one for number 200 is in Ann's area.
Ann's area. So both spots he did not respond.
That one's in Noyak Creek.
did he hunt either of the spots?
I don't know, since he never reached back out to us.
Yes.
If he didn't, grass it and put it out there, it's unlikely, it seems, but I don't know.
Jess, is he new to either of these spots?
It looks like he, let me just pull up my notes here. It looks like so for permit number 209, it looks like he received the blind permit in 2019. He was on it as a co-permittee, but then they removed the other permittee on it. So he's been like the sole permittee since 2019. And then for the one in your area and for permit number 200, he received this from the Waterfowl waitlist back in 2015. These are his two only offenses. I mean, or one. This is the only offense that he's had.
But he hasn't responded.
He
No,
has not responded. No.
maybe I should reach out to him.
However,
do
you
you-
want to proceed. These did go out certified mail, just so you guys know.
They went certified mail,
The
both of them,
NOVs
and
did go certified mail.
And it was
both of them
received?
didn't respond.
Yes.
No, I
If
mean,
we could reach,
was it
I-
signed?
I can check. I have to go on the post office website. and
Oh,
check.
okay.
So I mean, if the guy received them and acknowledged receiving them and then never responded to both of them,
I mean, I can check right now. Let me
We
just-
don't know if it actually got to his house and he signed for it.
she can check, right?
Type in the numbers. It'll take me 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Delivered February 6th at 12:20 p.m. Let me check the other one to make sure you got both.
and those,
No, they went together. So yeah, he got them.
He got them. So he didn't even make a telephone call to say, hey, sorry, whatever.
No.
Nothing.
Yeah.
could we maybe put this one, given that it's both his blinds, could we maybe put this on hold though, attempt to reach out to him? And then we make a decision at the next meeting, since a couple others are also on hold?
What is the NOV for in this case?
Failure to arrange for visual inspection, duck boat locations number 200 and number 209. Failure to put in place and grass by 12:31.
Mhm.
Does he have any other prize on that one?
No, on neither of them.
This has been a challenging year for everyone, so I don't think, if you guys don't mind if we just try and reach out to him.
I agree with Ann. We should give him a call.
Yeah, we've done that in the past on other blind
Yeah.
holders, so I think that's fair. Be
Okay.
consistent.
Who wants to reach out to him? Would you like me to send his contact information over?
Yeah, you can send it to me and I'll give him a call.
Okay. Can you let me know?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna hold those two.
Thank you.
You got it.
Put the numbers with it too, the permit numbers, please.
My number, yeah, you got it. All right, so that just leaves Ethan King.
I spoke to him.
You
He's
did?
gonna be calling you.
Okay.
So we put that on hold until you get a
He
phone call.
called? So he just called the office. Sorry, guys. Let me just
Yeah.
take a message. Thank you. He just left his phone number, so I guess he wants me to
Yeah.
just call him back. So how would you like me to proceed?
I'd like to put this one on hold until after you speak to him.
What would you like me to get from him?
What his intent is.
Okay. I'm gonna ask him to send me an email or a letter with what occurred, I guess. That's like,
Okay.
how we've been handling it for everyone else, so.
Okay,
That works great, Jess.
thank you, Jessica.
You got it. And I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. Until next
Thank you,
time.
Jess.
Yes.
Great job.
Uh,
Yeah, take care, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Hey.
You too.
So,
I think when everybody speaks to these people about, them not sending in documentation, this duck hunting situation is getting more contentious as people from not around here move in. And, we've seen a rise in complaints this year. And inevitably, there's going to be a lawsuit somewhere, and we have to really make sure that we're following all the rules and regulations and tighten up on this as far as when people don't send things in. We're going to have to start doing something about it, because any chink in the armor is going to be looked at and find a reason for shutting this whole thing down. I know we have one of the best run systems on Long Island, but still, we've got to be rock solid on this and bulletproof.
You're right, Eric.
Yeah, Eric.
yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Moving
Yeah.
forward, if we come into a lawsuit, we have to have backup documentation, how the program has been run and managed. And, it's good to see that we have so many people hunting, on the other hand, we have to make sure that they all abide by the rules and regulations too. So it's
Well,
important.
they got to be active participants in that. This is
Right.
their resource that they enjoy. And, we have regulations and protocols for a reason. And
Right.
everybody just needs to, nobody's perfect. Things slip
No,
through
no,
the cracks sometimes. Like Ann said, it's been a tough year for everybody. I agree with that.
There's people that file, 1155 on April 14th, their taxes. They just,
Right.
it's in their makeup. So
But they
But,
gotta help
but
us.
it was always
Keep it
drilled
well.
into me, planning board and everything like that. Consistency. That's what wins the cases.
Consistency does help, and they got to help us protect the resource that
Right.
they love and enjoy so much.
Right.
So that's all.
Right.
Hey,
Okay.
Eric, you want to go
Yeah.
back and
Yeah, I
talk-
want to go back into the shellfishing.
thank
Get
you.
that. Okay, so we got commercial shellfish licenses. What was the discussion on that?
It was brought to my attention by several commercial fishermen, and I spoke to Ed about it for the last few months about it. About either put a moratorium on so we can look at how we give out the license, or make it a little bit more restrictive, up the fees and portion that money towards reseeding the bay.
Yeah, I have also been contacted by several baymen with concerns that, our shellfish harvest has been somewhat good here for the last couple of years. And they would like a further discussion with management of the stocks and some kind of a moratorium on shellfish licenses for some period of time, maybe a year or so that we could evaluate the amount of people that are working on the bay, how many shellfish are being taken out, because they have to document all the landings. And then maybe we can move forward with a better management plan moving towards the future.
Some of the towns have a limit on how many clams you can catch, 2,000. Brookhaven is 2,000. Huntington has a junior permit. They only give 125 permits out each year. I haven't read the ice slips yet. I ran out of time I just got them before the meeting. But we should, like Ed was saying, we really have to see what's out there. The college has been putting a lot of clams out there, and they've been spawning, and we want to make sure the area does not get overfished, and we got to be very careful on what we're doing out there, because it's good right now, it might not be good in a couple of years.
And Sean's working on this?
Yeah, Sean's giving Sean has a bunch of alternatives, the things we can do and that we cannot do. He should speak about it too.
Right. So Trustee Pell and I spoke about this morning. Trustee Warner and I have been talking about this for quite a while. Right now, for a commercial shellfish license, you must be a freeholder or resident by age of 16 years or older. And the permit expires on the 31st day of December. If we were to do a moratorium overall, we'd have to go through a public hearing process, let everybody be heard, and enact a resolution with dates of a proposed moratorium. Other options include under special authority, we can change the essentially season, or under sub A, you can amend the method or equipment used in taking shellfish as a board, if you support that. Under sub B, you can increase or decrease limits. That's also a potential option in the special authority section 16 section. That decision is obviously yours to be made as the board, whichever mechanism we'd like to use. I would suggest having a public hearing for either process, as this is a commercial license involved. That would be my recommendation.
I think you should touch on the rulings that came down as far as the amount of time it has to spend in a town to qualify for
Right. Historically, the courts don't allow you to discriminate by length of residency. It's either resident or not.
Right.
So that's not something that we want to venture into.
Right.
It's either resident or not, and it's either moratorium for everyone or no one.
Is there any language that would preclude or would make a distinction between home ownership or renter?
Also not something we want to end up litigating.
Right.
The word is resident or freeholder. That's in our blue book. The courts have been consistent that residents have these rights, and the classification may be resident or non-resident. So, it's either, like I said, it's a moratorium on all new licenses or none. Right now, the code requires someone to be a freeholder or resident to obtain a commercial fishing license.
Yeah. I think there was a court case in East Hampton that didn't go well for the East Hampton town trustees. I don't remember when it was, but I do remember hearing about it. Maybe Sean and Bill and myself should sit down and come up with a list of proposals that we think would be the best, listening to the Bayman, and then just have a discussion and then put it forward to the whole entire board. Would that be the best?
Great idea. We could set up a Zoom call.
That'd be good, Ed.
Okay.
I would tend to, just while I have the floor still, I would tend to advise, I think the special authority route is the better option if we can do it, just because it's much easier to modify the method of taking or season.
Right.
And it's a less permanent change.
Okay.
Right.
So I'll jot down a few notes and then we'll schedule a meeting. All right.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you.
Good. Let me know when you want to do it. Hey, Ed, one more question too. We were talking about Meecox, and Ann spoke up that you wanted to say some clutch oysters.
Clutch oysters.
Culch.
Didn't you mention something about?
Yes, I had a conversation with Greg Rivera from Cornell about putting some spat on shell oysters in Meecox during the summer months. He recommended to do that instead of the mature oysters because you have a less likelihood of any diseases being transmitted. And then we could monitor the specific area where they're placed and the growth of the oysters on the shells so that we could make a determination if that was something that we could do on a larger scale. Because if it does work out, we can put a lot of juvenile oysters in there and not pay a lot of money for them. And they'll be, there's really no predators. It's just having them make sure they grow well.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the dredging. Sorry, but I knew it was something.
Historically, why oysters were dredged specifically in there, because when oysters set, they set on top of each other and they become clusters. And they literally grow like bunny ears, and they're not marketable. And they're just not a good oyster to sell. When you use a dredge in the springtime, when the water's warmer, you take the oysters, you actually break them apart, and that allows for new shell to be unearthed out of the bottom for oysters to set on, and also breaks apart the oyster reef somewhat, so the oysters can be more value when you sell them. They're a better quality oyster, and they grow much quicker that way too.
Yep, that's great.
And also Eric mentioned, I said when they usually cull the oysters, they move off to the side, and when they cull them, they can dump the cull back into the water. The baby oysters in different spots.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be good to spread them out throughout the bay, don't you?
Well, there's pretty much oysters all over the bay, but especially the western part of the bay by Flying Point and Cobb Isle, because there's some rocks and some substrate there. That's why putting the shells is really important, the skimmer shells and the old scallop shells, because putting new fresh shell there gives a lot of substrate on the bottom when they set. And they really do set on those skimmer shells. I've seen as many as 15 or 20 juvenile oysters on one skimmer shell, so they work very well. The problem with the east end of the bay, it's very silty down there. So that would probably be a good place to put a lot of these shells on between Bay Lane and Horse Mill on the edge down there for the, for them to set on.
Well, that's what I was saying. I mean, they grow pretty well by horse mill. So
Yes.
if you had, as part of the requirements for the guys dredging, is to take a couple of bushels at least and spread them out over that area, spread the shell fragments over.
That would be
Yeah.
great. That would be a great location to bump up a little bit, because there's been quite a bit of erosion along there. So an oyster reef would act like a living shoreline along that eastern edge of the bay, which would be great.
Yes, so we could actually put the skimmer clam shells there somewhat offshore, and then when they set, they would actually make a natural reef there, which would, accomplish a couple of things.
Mhm.
Like, the erosion problem, that's from the high bay, though. That's a different issue. But the meadow along there has gotten very eroded too, also. The
Mhm.
beach, the little ponds that were behind the meadow are now,
Right.
connected to Meecox.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, you're
Mhm.
talking about adding skimmer shells, or these skimmer
Yes.
shells? I'm talking about,
Adding the ones that we-
when they are actively dredging and they've got all the stuff on the cull boards. It would be good to take at least a couple of bushels and bring them of shell
Yeah.
fragments and everything over to horse mill and throw them out there. It would
That's
help.
what most of the baymen who were working in there 2 years ago were landing out of Bay Lane, and they were chipping off in front of Bay Lane and Horse Mill, because that's where they would pull their boats out. So that actually happened, Eric. So
Yeah, but not actually on the shore, just have them put it in the bushels
in
and
the
go out,
water.
spread it out,
Yep. No, I agree.
as a requirement type of thing.
No, you
You
can
know?
do that.
That's all.
Yep. Put them in a fish basket and then just sprinkle them when you're driving in a boat. That'd be fine.
Right.
We just gotta put it as a cover, that's all.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, my screen went dead here for a second. All right, so what's the next item on the agenda here? Will I bring up my screen?
General permit applications for
Permits.
determination.
Who's got that first? I have to.
I do.
Scott,
Okay, Scott.
We've got Jamie Stecker, 4 Old Oak Lane, Village of Quogue, Clay Coalfield, environmental permits. Is Clay here?
Yeah, I'll let him in.
There we go. Okay.
Let me just exit this full screen here. Clay is here.
He wants to do 4 rows of natural stone landward, 10 to 25 pounds, 160 feet along the shoreline, integrate existing stones in the slope of the bluff, 4 tons. Clean fill, 40 cubic yards, eroded slope, Spartina, alterniflora, Spartina patens. He wants to do a planting. I think we need him to explain his project.
Yeah.
Clay, start your video. Guess he's not here. He's on, but he's not on.
Stone, that's a little bit of a bluff type of area there, a little cut off.
There he's coming now.
are there some pictures,
Put your
James?
video on, Clay.
I don't know if you hear me or not.
We
can hear
can,
you.
Clay.
Put your
Okay.
video
Thanks,
on,
James.
Clay.
He's
Thanks,
good.
James.
He's on.
Okay, what we're trying to do here is not reclaim anything, but just record the amount of erosion that is happening here. Years ago, we had some the biologs put in on both sides of the pier. The bay side of the pier took well. And,
Speak a little louder.
I can't hear you, Clay.
okay, I don't know how to do this well.
All right.
You
That's better.
sound better. However, you moved, Clay.
Speak into the microphone.
I'll get a little closer. So the side that we're trying to reclaim, well, not reclaim, but do some work to, is the side that's up the creek a little bit. What's happening there is what wave action happens, and there's a bulkhead on the other side. It rebounds and it washes away the bluff that's there. And if you can look at the pictures, you can see that there was biologs in there and they disintegrated and nothing was gained by that. So we need a little bit stronger wave action retardant, and that would be, 1 or 2 courses of small stones in there, and that's what we have planned for the project. So that's what we wish to plant in there, and then put some, some vegetation behind there, some vegetation in front of it, and hope that that will keep the backyard from going into the creek. The backyard has probably got many years of fertilizer and stuff in there, so we don't want to stop all that from coming in and enriching in a wrong way the river there. So that's what's planned for this, and we hope that you allow us to do that. We do have a DEC permit, and Army Corps and the Department of State permits have come in. So the DEC recommended a stronger erosion control device, and that's what was suggested, and that's what we put in forms. I'll take any questions if you have any.
So we're always the last to be applied to, huh?
Could we see the aerial of the location, please? This is at the head of Stone Creek. Oh, it's sort of the middle.
Middle, yeah. So you're
Right.
trying like a living shoreline sort of a concept here, mixing the gray with the green. Is that what you're trying, or what are you trying to do? Clay?
Clay,
Yes, I didn't hear you.
are you, Scott is asking if you are considering this a living shoreline application?
I really don't know what a living shoreline application is. I'm not familiar with that. By living, you mean with vegetation and enhancing it that way? That would be my meaning of a living shoreline.
Right. There are many, there's a spectrum with them, but typically it would mean a rock sill located offshore just a little bit, and then different stages of vegetation depending on the depth of the water and the tidal coverage.
Because I don't think
I would, that would be a viable alternative to put a low sill bulkhead in. But
no, this is.
No, we're not talking low sill.
This isn't a low sill bulkhead. This would mean just moving your rocks away from the toe of the bluff out into the water, and they would be partially submerged. If we went back to the plans for a second, James.
The only one problem you're gonna have with that, Ann, is the dredged canal. It's a pretty steep embankment. So putting them on the edge of that embankment, and it's all muddy down below, so you're not really gonna gain, they'll probably actually tumble down that embankment. So it's
probably lose
probably
them.
best keeping them as close as you can to the toe of the natural vegetated shoreline, and then build landward from there. It doesn't have a lot of wave action, but it's a fairly deep creek. The dredge is probably about 8 feet of water in front of that property, so it is a pretty steep embankment on the channel where it's dredged.
You're just going to be touching the high water mark. Is that right, Clay?
yes,
So it's going to be wet every high tide.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So those rocks and structure that you're putting on the toe of that is going to get barnacles, rib mussels, and create an environment for the small fish and habitat that lives there. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be one of the things that is going to happen. Once we put the vegetation in the alternative flora, then the organisms cannot, will have be less likely to be washed with the roll of the wave there. And you're right, that is a deep section there, and you get a large roll and then a crash. It'd be great if it was out into the ocean. It'd be a great surfing area. And it's not a gentle wash; it's a hard crash from the being on, nothing in the way of the roll of the wave.
Right.
Yes,
I do have one other question. How long did the biologs last that were placed there?
they were put in, I'm pretty sure, in 2019 by First Coastal. And
Wow, they didn't last very
It didn't
long.
last long at all.
been around for years, so maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
What's the usual life of the biologs estimated, depending on the site?
They could last, depending on the amount of erosion and the amount of, degradation by marine animals and stuff like that. They could last 6 months, they could last a year, but these didn't last at all long. And the only thing that's left on that one side is the stakes, which you can see. Now, the biologs, did well on the other side where there was no bulkhead across the way, and it's also a bigger area, a wider area about the canal. So, it's the wave action there comes up more gentle than it does in the deeper end. So, when they did the dredging, they went to town and took a lot of sand down.
Could we do, Clay, would it be possible for you to put sort of a monitoring, could we put that as one of the conditions so that we keep an eye on the growth of both the Spartina patens as well as the Spartina alterniflora in this situation? Because I'm so glad to
Absolutely.
see you using vegetation rather than shore hardening structures. But I'm just seeing on your plans that across the way there is an area of natural vegetation. So anything we can do always to move in that more towards a greener option is always looked upon favorably. But if you could put in, if we could just, maybe if you could do once a year, if you just were to give us a quick report for 3 years, that would be great.
Absolutely. That's an easy thing to do, is to, going out there and taking some pictures and monitoring the vegetation, because the DEC permit, I have to, each year, it has to be a minimum of 85%, that's left from what you put in eventually, and so you have to have an 85 success rate each year for 5 years. So we're going to be doing that anyway, and it's no problem. I'm going to be monitoring it with the DEC, and we'll monitor it with the town.
Great. Maybe if our conditions could just mirror those and we do it for 5 years as well. I knew they had done 5 years in other situations. That'd be great, Clay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Clay.
Thank you, Clay.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns or issues?
You're going to advance that one?
I'm waiting to hear if the board is comfortable with it.
I am, Scott.
Yeah, I'm okay. The only thing I'm not comfortable with is that we're the last person to be applied to.
Well, at least something's consistent.
Mhm.
We're always the last people to get.
With the,
Curious to how long it took to get that DEC permit, and why, if everything was applied
A long
toward the.
time. Long
Huh?
time. It took a long
Long
time.
time.
And can you explain why you waited to apply to us and why you didn't do it in first, seeing that we own the bottom?
Customarily, the DEC insists on being the lead agency, and by applying to you, it may, and getting a permit from you, it may change, and it has changed over the course of this permit letting, the way that it was to be done, because it wasn't as it is now. It wasn't my first or second or third rendering to the DEC. So I would have to come back to you several times with changes, and that would be a waste of time on your end, and definitely more work for me. So I got the permit from them, and I instantly applied to the town, and you gratefully came through very quickly in this sorted time, and I thank you for responding a lot better than the DEC, and they're still bad.
Aside from that, is everybody comfortable with Clay's application?
Yeah, it's a good project.
With the addition of the monitoring conditions, if you could just put those in, Clay, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll get it. I'll redo the application that says that. Okay.
Okay, so forward that off to James, and then this one can move forward for advancement.
Thank you, Clay.
All right, thank you. I just got to figure out how to get out.
I think it says leave meeting.
Oh, I was going to stay for the next one because I know.
I can take care of it, don't worry.
But I'll listen, that's all.
Okay.
All right, so we've got John and Angela McNerney, 19 Tarpon Road, East Quogue. I got Kristen or Mike Trovich. 4x6 fixed platform, 2 handrails, install 3x16 aluminum ramp to a 6x20 composite floating dock, 4 support piles, 2 for the platform, 2 for the floating dock. Everything's non-treated, tropical, all hardware to be galvanized. Is anybody here to represent this app? Meets the blue book, James?
Seems to.
Yep, seems to be pretty standard.
Standard in that area.
It's
Yep.
standard and customary in that area. I don't see any reason to hold it up.
I don't have a problem either.
Nope,
Looks good, Scott.
did advance.
Okay.
Next one that we have. When you're ready, James.
Yep. Just let me pull it up here.
Shinbone LLC. Is Mr. Walker here from InterScience?
No. Nope,
You don't have Jim Walker?
nope.
Okay. In place and in kind replacement of 302 linear feet of bulkhead, including 20 linear feet return at the south property line. Proposed in place and in kind replacement of 4x55 low profile fixed pier catwalk. Proposed in place and in kind replacement of existing wood walk landward of existing bulkhead, all decking through floor equivalent. All construction to be completed using untreated materials.
What about the buffer?
It's
Doesn't say anything about the buffer there. Maybe it's on the plans.
yeah. I like Jim. Jim always does a good job at speaking to his projects. I was hoping he would be here today.
I believe they have a buffer.
A covenant, James?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't see it yet, but
Well, I see a swimming pool there. Is that swimming pool? I
Yeah,
think
Yes.
perhaps as a result of upland activity they may have. Jim would be able to.
Got any pictures of that? Because that takes a bit beating down there.
yeah, that's a rough place on the northeaster.
Right on that point. Yeah.
it's one back from the point, right, Scott?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Can you blow those pictures up, James, for
I have a
everybody?
buffer there.
There you go. You
Unfortunately,
can't make them any bigger,
well, I can, but it's just gonna lose,
right?
Clarity.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
only
I mean,
it's one document with a bunch of.
If you want to hold this one for Jim to come in, we could do that if you have concerns.
I mean, it's a pretty vegetated buffer, you can see from
Yeah.
the photos.
It's pretty extensively vegetated in that area.
I mean, we're going to have our standard buffer language on ours for our jurisdiction, right?
Right.
And there's probably overlapping with somebody else's. So
I don't have a
Is
problem.
that the village of Quogue, probably, Scott?
yep.
Yep.
So I don't,
It's interesting that it seems the property to the south does not have a bulkhead. And yet this one does.
Yeah, you see that. I mean, and I've been going out and I've been finding that quite often in these areas. They have an old existing bulkhead and they're up against a place that does not have a bulkhead.
Yeah.
Well, that house that is on the point further to the south is a new construction house. That house has not been there for extremely long time.
That could, yeah, it's subdivided like Ed was thinking, it's gonna say.
And that's probably why it doesn't have a bulkhead in front of it. It was just a vacant lot for many years. The other one has had a residence on it for, I can say, at least 40 years of my life. So that's probably where the bulkhead came from.
It's pre-existing stuff, matching up to
Yeah.
the new construction stuff that doesn't allow for the bulkhead.
It's a pretty wicked place there on the northeast. They're
yeah.
very rough,
Definitely.
a lot of erosion.
Yep. Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that why, the dock is, placed out, sort of out on a catty corner?
Yeah, it's an enclosed,
Oh, it's a
Uh,
boat slip.
Yes,
it's a boat slip, but it's
Yes.
enclosed. Because on the
Okay.
northeaster, you get hammered
Yeah.
there. But
exactly.
there is a very large vegetated wetland seaward of that whole,
Seaward.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
bog,
You can
Can
see
we-
it's a
it.
bog.
heavy
Can we-
bog.
Can we put some language in there to protect that then? When
We
they're
could.
doing the work?
Well, if the contractor's going to do the work, they should come from the landward side and try to do it on that side, not from the seaward side where you're going to have machinery and a barge sitting on the wetlands. I don't think that's a good option in that area.
We
Yeah.
could put a special condition on it, A, or we can B, if you're more comfortable, we can hold it and move it to the next work session and have Jim come.
Yeah, I like
Speak
to
to that
have
if
Jim
you
come
want.
and I like to have Jim give his thoughts, being that he's the consultant of record, and he can give us a little bit of history on it too. I think that would be a good way to.
And I thought he was going to be here today because much like any of the other properties that are there that do have that thriving wetland, that's seaward of the
Yes.
bulkhead, we always want them to protect that wetland
Yes,
in any of the projects that we have over there.
Right.
So, you know what? There's not a problem with
All right.
putting this on hold and having Jim come in. He does an excellent job representing, his projects and answering questions and making sure that we get the wording so that we can accomplish the protection of that seaward wetland. So that's fine with me.
Okay. Good, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're gonna hold that one, James.
Yep.
The other
Holding it.
two advances, we'll hold, contact Mr. Walker and tell him we'll need him at the next work session. We can move this right to the next work session.
No problem.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
So Ed's next, Frank Belanti.
yes.
Mhm.
Remove 100 feet of timber bulkhead, and replace it with 100 feet of vinyl. They want to raise the top of it 18 inches to meet with the upland grade of the property. The property has a retaining wall that's behind it, and most of the property is about a foot or so higher than the bulkhead. I went and looked at the site the other day. Raising it would be a good way of stopping the runoff from the property going directly into the water. It's an old bulkhead. It's been there since the 80s, so it's pretty low, and the property I believe to the north is somewhat raised up too. So I think it's a good project. It's all treated lumber. The decking's all treated, the retaining wall's all treated, the bulkhead. So removing all of this out of the environment is good. And it's removing the fencing for pass and repass is also on the discussion here, because originally it didn't have the ability for people to pass and repass. So they're going to be able to do that now. The fence is placed there, I don't know how long ago, but it's a good project. They also want to dredge up some material that's in front of the property. It's the end property going into Smith's Creek. A lot of sand has come into the front of the house there, filled in front of the bulkhead. They did a dredging of the creek a few years ago, just the middle of it, but once they wouldn't do the edges of it because the bulkheads were so old. so that they're replacing a new bulkhead there. They can dredge right up to the bulkhead and acquire deep water there again, and then use the material to, fill in behind the bulkhead. So it's a good project as it is proposed right now. You have any questions?
Is it necessary to raise that bulkhead 18 inches? Because this property is fairly protected. I mean, it's in sort of the dogleg of this canal. And it looks like the properties on either side are not raised.
The one property is raised somewhat, the other one is raised, is kind of equal, but the land behind the project has been raised up and has a retaining wall. So that's, and I'm trying to make sure that the water doesn't flow into the bay. I mean, we could go with a little bit less of a raise, but it's also going to have a 4-inch lip on it too. So raising it 18 inches, you're only going to acquire, 14 inches of raise actually. And then the decking will be put on top of that. So to reduce the runoff from the property.
What if we just raised it to meet the adjacent bulkhead to the south?
I mean, you could do that too. I mean, it would be, then everybody would be consistently the same height, but the property behind it would have, would
still
be
has the
about 14 inches higher. That's the problem.
Right.
And then they're going to want to put a retaining wall. And if they put a retaining wall, they'll probably put a treated retaining wall. And so we really would have, another issue with that, because that would be out of our jurisdiction probably if they go do that.
What are alternatives to retaining walls? Could they do some sort of terracing?
Well, the problem with that is if it's out of our jurisdiction, we have no control over it.
Yeah, it's going to go back past where we are. So that's why I thought raising the bulkhead. And that bulkhead all of the bulkheads in this area were put in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they are low. Even on a full moon high tide, these properties are pretty much wet. So raising it up maybe a foot would be, maybe we'll contact Donna Myers, and I believe she's the consultant of record. What's that?
Is she on? Charles, is she on? Donna Myers?
Shore Solutions, Charles?
1 second.
Sorry, we should ask that in the beginning, Ed.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You know what? We're going to hold this, and we'll contact her and have her on for the next Zoom meeting so we can, ask her these questions.
Okay. Thanks, Ed.
All right. That'll be good.
What's next?
So that's a hold.
That's a hold, Lisa.
James.
Okay, so I'm next. Lorraine R. Davis Irrevocable Trust, 47 Oak Grove Road in North Sea. JMO Environmental Consulting. Glenn, are you here?
Yes, he is.
Great.
Coming in.
This was discussed at a previous work session. I think it was late fall. And we went back to the drawing board, and then Glenn was kind enough to make some revisions, and we now have a different looking project. This is located right on the channel of Fresh Pond in North Sea. There are docks on either side of it.
Didn't we have this application in a couple of times a few years ago?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went right next to the north of that, Ed. Eric. That we had that one too, and both of them.
Right.
Yeah, that was when we went back and forth because they wanted to put it out in the channel, remember?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had them pull it back.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that's the same with this one. Originally, it was out further and we asked them to pull it back. Glenn, do you want to describe this and just tell what we've kind of gone through?
You got to put your video on and your audio, Glenn.
Oh, I think Glenn, this is Glenn, this is your first Zoom, I think, right?
Yeah, boy,
So,
Glenn's joining.
Prior to the pandemic, and it's his first Zoom. Wow.
Come on, Glenn, I know you can do it. Prompting you to put your video on. If you're
Probably
using
up at the top of the,
your phone, just
so just while Glenn's coming on, you can see there's an existing dock there now. The original proposal was for, hey, James, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if this is the most current. Is it? Yeah, I guess it is.
I think it is. This one's.
Okay, sorry. Okay, no, you're right. Sorry.
That's one. That's the original one.
Right, so there's the original plan, you guys. So,
Right.
and then we've gone back to the drawing board as stated and withdrew it and spun it. So it's L-shaped now. And it's 2.5 feet at the inside edge. And it's approximately 144 feet across to the other side of the channel. You can see from the aerial on the other side of the channel, this inlet has filled in majorly.
That's
That
Mr.
dock-
Feldman's dock that used to be a floating dock.
right.
So we did measure from mean low water over on the other side, because as you can see clearly, this channel is an issue. It fills in pretty much every year, right, Ed?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So we were trying to be cognizant of that with the length of how much this dock was protruding out into the channel. And we think this is a good project. Glenn, are you with us?
I lost Glenn, but I have someone else.
Okay.
Captain.
Oh, that's my husband. This is Donna Myers. I was watching the whole time. I don't know why I wasn't on.
Oh, well,
We
Hang on. Let's finish this one first.
yeah, we have
let's
another.
Take care of Glenn. Where's Glenn?
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry,
Glenn is
no,
gone.
Donna, we'll come back to you, Donna. Sorry.
Okay.
We'll come back to you, okay?
Yeah.
Glenn,
Glenn is not on. Oh, now he is. Okay.
Okay.
Start your video, Glenn.
you might have to give him a little more instruction than that, Charles, maybe.
I'm prompting him to start his video.
Okay.
If I could go through the phone, I would. Just he was.
You can't go through the phone?
Unmute. Glenn, unmute.
Tap your screen, Glenn, and it'll show start video.
You can do it, Glenn. I know you can do it.
Fluffy.
Just touch your video, touch your screen on your phone. It's gonna ask you to put your video on.
There you go. That's it, Glenn. I see that you
He's
joined.
got 2 phones.
What?
Well, we can do this.
I think while Glenn's finding his way, I think that our biggest concern when this was originally brought to the board a couple months ago was the length of the dock. And I think that with drawing it back, that this should be a feasible project.
It does fall in within the 1/3, 1/3, so it looks like it would work with the L shape like that.
Does this thing meet Blue Book?
Yeah.
Well, if it meets Blue
Actually,
Book,
actually, the blue book says that in channels that are over 100 foot, that is a 30-foot navigation area, and the docking shall be apportioned equally to each side, if the channel's down the middle. If it is, then it could be arranged, but so if there's a 30 foot, and then it would be divided between each side.
Well,
Okay.
from what I'm looking at, this looks like it meets Blue Book.
Yeah,
It
There's a
does.
there's a healthy wetland there, and there's a catwalk that would go over this, preserving that wetland. And I think that we've addressed any concerns. And I think even without Glenn's help, that
Let's advance it if it meets Blue Book.
that
Yeah, I mean, it
I have one
works
question.
within the,
Looks good.
we've gone over these two properties for quite a while, so.
It looks
we're
good.
familiar with
Bill has a question, I think, right?
Hey, Ed, if that place gets dredged, would that be in its way?
no, not at all. It's inside.
Okay.
No,
Definitely.
it's,
That's
the
what I thought.
channel's right in the middle in front of that, Billy.
Right.
Yeah, it's this.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's considerably inside too, Bill.
Okay.
yes. So why don't you advance it?
Okay, I'll advance it.
thank you.
So let's go back to 12 Canal.
Yes,
Thanks,
please,
Glenn.
James.
Good luck, Glenn.
All right, what do you want me to bring up here?
The site plan?
Drawings? Okay.
Let Donna explain the
Yes.
elevation.
Okay. All right, do you have the survey scanned?
Yes.
Okay, the survey shows that the elevation,
Hold on.
okay.
Is it on this one or no?
Well, you know, go to the, yeah, that one should show it.
Okay.
Look at the dead man, and it comes back, and there's a 4 foot 10 inch. That's the elevation of the yard, according to the survey.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's that fence, and then there's that like wooden bench, whatever it is, and
Yep.
the bulkhead is at 3.5. So if you raise the bulkhead 1.5 feet, it will bring it to 5 minus the 4 foot 10 inches. It's only going to be 2 inches higher than the grade of the upland. So that the difference, you know, you would have just a 2 inch, you know, the 4 inch lower would only make it a 2 inch above the property grade.
Well, yes,
mean,
that
about
works. That works fine for the subject property, but what about the neighboring properties? Because with the raise of the bulkhead and the land behind it, that's going to create a serious situation for the neighbors. So what are we going to do to mitigate
That
that?
situation is going to occur anyway when it hits that retaining wall. It's moving.
Yeah, it's already there.
You got that
And
problem no matter what.
that's a problem that's right. It's happening right now is it has a retaining wall that's 4 feet back that's elevated 18 or 20 inches higher than the adjoining property. So, I mean, if we were to do the returns and do the elevation change, we could sculpt or slope the property in a way that it would gradually go down on each side of it. But what I seen the other day is that this property is such difference in height behind the retaining wall to the deck to the bulkhead that if you got a heavy rain from that retaining wall to the bulkhead, it just runs into the canal there.
I mean, I'm just looking at lawn that acts like a sheet for any kind of runoff. And then what's proposed behind it? Gravel.
Gravel.
What if we were to put some vegetation in there instead? Some natural vegetation that wasn't fertilized rather than the gravel, if we're going to elevate.
Well, you got to mix it up a little bit too. If you got a dock boat there,
Yes.
Yeah.
so you're gonna have to mix. You won't be able to do all vegetation, but maybe you could, design something.
You could do 4 feet along the bulk along the top of the bulkhead, and then the other 6 feet could be vegetated.
But then if you're gonna tie the boat up or whatever, you're gonna be walking on that vegetation, is that what you're?
No, you could do a path through it.
Well, you know, you got up and down the dock, so you may wanna have some areas that.
You need a little
are
bit of
more
a boardwalk.
vegetated.
You
know.
need a path to a boardwalk in back of the bulkhead where the boat is tied up. That's what you need. And
That's
then
fine.
on either side of it, if you do vegetation and gravel, it would be fine.
They didn't want a boardwalk. They are willing to remove what's there, and they just wanted to put gravel to make it easy to maintain, and they're elderly, so it would be an easy access to their platform, ramp, and boat. They could also store, kayaks and
Yeah. Well, gravel was always our go-to as far as behind the bulkhead because it had the most permeability as far as ability to wick water up. But also a little bit of grass, like Cape American beach grass with some kind of vegetative root system to wick any nutrients that are coming off the property would be something that I think would be a good thing to incorporate in this.
You want them along like the returns? Can we just do it over on the corners?
I mean, why don't you do it? Why don't you do the Cape American beach grass on the returns? Come in 10 feet on each side with Cape American beach grass, and the rest be gravel. That way, you'll have somewhat of a buffer.
Or could you do 4 feet of gravel along the bulkhead and then 6 feet of Cape American beach grass with a path or 2 to access the gravel that abuts the bulkhead?
I think that if the people are old, it'd be very difficult for them to walk on the gravel. And I think what Ed just said was a pretty good idea.
Well, they want gravel. They want gravel.
They want gravel.
They want gravel.
Where the boardwalk is, they want gravel.
Yes.
Yeah, they're taking out all the boardwalk.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult to walk on.
It's for cost. Boardwalks cost money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what is it, 100 feet of bulkhead?
Yes.
So if you took the boat, probably figure you're going to tie a maximum 40-foot boat up there, which is reasonable in that area. And then you have a dock and a float in between that. So, I mean, why don't we look at something in maybe a 40-foot gravel area, and either side of it going to the other properties, do a Cape American beach grass planting.
Oh, so you want 60 feet of planting and 40 of the gravel?
I'm okay with that.
That would give it a really nice look too. It would wick up any excessive nutrients, and it would put the cost of the project down too, and it would be a environmentally friendly project.
Does it matter what they plant? You want the beach grass, or can they do
native?
Native
vegetation.
indigenous species, whatever they want to use around the water. Cape American beach grass usually works the best because it flourishes around the marine environment. But if you can come up with another type of planting that's, marine friendly and an indigenous species, I think would be amenable to that also.
There's a list, Donna, on James, is that on the trustee website of accepted plants for the buffer?
I think the conservation board has that.
Right. So there's a plant list, Donna.
Mm-hmm.
We can help you find that if
I
you
think
wish.
Marty developed some site by site, but I'm familiar with the native plants that would, work in the area.
That would be good. That would make it a really nice project, and it would hold the roots would hold the soil during a storm, wick up some nutrients coming off the property, and they'd have access to their dock and their boat and everything. So I think that would be a good project.
And they'd still have room to store kayaks and such.
Sure would, yes.
They have a lot of grandkids that come.
Yeah, it'd be good for everybody, yes.
Okay, so 2 30-foot areas of planting.
Yep,
Is there a ladder off the bulkhead into the water? You might want to put a ladder.
Okay,
yeah, I would recommend, if they have grandkids and they're elderly, I would ask a ladder on each side of the dock in case someone
Okay.
falls in, because there's no other way out of there. It's a very, in raising the bulkhead, you're never going to climb out of there. So for safety purposes, it would be 2 ladders on either end where the gravel ends.
okay.
Okay?
And a throw ring with a rope.
Okay.
So we'll
All right.
put this on hold and you can get us the cover sheet and plans with all that on there.
Okay. All right. I know this one took a long time to get to a work session. This was submitted in November. But
Well, we
that's okay.
have a thing called COVID out here.
Ed.
I know. Okay,
Patience,
so that's
Donna,
it?
patience.
Everything else is okay?
Everything is okay. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All
All
right.
right. How do I
Bye.
sign off?
I got you.
James,
Leave
James,
meeting.
Charles will let you go.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I have 3 that are all basically the same. 1265 Flying Point Road LLC. They're all represented by Peconic Environmental. So Jonathan, if you're here, maybe if you could come on. So the first one is 1265. May we look at all of them together? Is that okay, you guys?
Sure.
That's all we have
Okay.
left, so.
Science is here now too.
1265 Flying Point Road LLC, at 1265 Flying Point Road, Benjamin Bram. Second is Benjamin Bram, 1271 Flying Point Road, Watermill. And the third is Lewis and Clark LLC, 1285 Flying Point Road. These are 3 contiguous properties that are located just to the east of the Watermill Beach Club. They have the steel bulkhead in front of them, and part of the covenant on the property is that if 30% of the bulkhead has been exposed as a result of beach or dune erosion or loss of sand, that it must be replaced prior to plover season. So Jonathan, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. Do you want to
Okay.
talk about this a little?
Sure, yeah. So this is just the required, as Ann said, by the covenant that was issued with the coastal erosion permit in 2014 for the repair of that bulkhead. So every year the Environment Division goes out and checks the exposure of the bulkhead and sends the letters out stating that we need to or don't need to re-nourish the dune. So we received those letters last week, and we met on site with the contractor, Bob Terry of Terry Contracting, who gave us an estimate of how much sand might be needed to cover the bulkhead as required. That total is about 1,750 total cubic yards for all 3 properties. Separated, it's 550 for 1265, 500 for 1271, and 700 for 1285. Coastal erosion permit applications are set to be submitted tomorrow, and DEC permits are still open and have been extended so we can keep doing this as needed.
And all work would be completed by April 1st. Right, Jonathan?
Yes, correct.
Are you planning to vegetate it or just the sand?
As of now, we were just going to do sand and evaluate. Obviously, you can see that there's, a bunch of vegetation on the top portion of the dune currently.
James, is that, oops, sorry.
Where's the sand coming from? Where's the sand coming from?
upland source, and yeah, it'll be trucked in and you using the access on the eastern end there.
James, does it usually call for revegetation? Because I see on the plans that there is vegetation.
Jonathan,
Nourished.
Not sure. John, can you answer that question?
I don't believe it's written into the covenant. It was on the original plans when they originally did it. We did revegetate, but I don't believe it's written into the covenant.
Only because the presence of the beach grass, especially with the root system, is really what holds this sand in place. So it would be much more effective in the long run to have the vegetation there after you renourish.
Okay.
Because it creates a mat. The rhizomes of that beach grass create a mat-like structure, So if that were possible, that maybe we could write it in as a condition that it could be done.
Are you talking about in front of the bulkhead?
No, on
No,
top of, because they're gonna cover it, right?
Landward of the bulkhead.
Yeah,
Landward.
yeah.
Okay, I can see that. Okay.
So just the portion landward to be revegetated? Okay.
Sure. What's the status of the permit with Meecox? We could sell them the sand. Be a lot easier.
hey, Jonathan,
Yes.
when you dump the sand, are you gonna dump it on the road? How are you gonna get the sand? How are you gonna get the sand to that location?
It'll be trucked down the beach.
From where?
From the access at the end there.
So where are you gonna dump, how are you gonna get the sand from the truck to the other truck, the beach truck?
I'm not positive. It's a question I could answer, but.
Because we would like to know if it's gonna be dumped on the road. And if it's gonna be dumped on the road, you gotta have people there because people walk up and down to get on the beach.
Okay, yeah.
And, any damage done to the road, it has to be repaired. Bob Terry's very, very careful what he does.
Yeah.
But we have, when other contractors do, we do the same thing.
Right.
Okay.
So where are we with Meecox? With sand?
Okay, hold on, Eric, because that's next. But can we advance these three with a condition about the sand transfer as well as the vegetation? You guys
Definitely
okay?
advance them. That needs to be done.
Yeah, sure. It has to be done.
Yes.
But we have to find out how they're gonna get it there.
We could just, what do you want to say, Bill? Because we could just put that in a condition.
We got, so it has to be a person there where they dump it. So when people come down to the beach, they're not in the way of getting over. And any damage done to the road, it has to be restored, fixed.
Right.
Okay, so Jonathan, if you could put that in as a condition in addition to the vegetation.
You could just update
And one
that on the cover sheet, Jonathan, and send it to me.
And one further thing is when the project is done, the machine should backblade it all the way back to the site of picking the sand up so that people don't fall in the ruts.
Or plovers.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're doing it with a payloader, you're gonna have a big rut made in the beach. And people would fall in it or get stuck in it with a truck, because I know people that have. So
I have.
when the project is done, it should be backbladed.
Okay.
Okay, so you all set, Jonathan?
I think so. I think that's.
Okay, great.
So you need me to submit a revised application form with those?
Just the cover sheet?
Yeah, yep, just
Updating.
description.
Okay, will do.
Great.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jonathan.
All right, thank you.
Did we want to go back to Jim Walker's application? Is he Charles said he's on now?
No, he left.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He left.
All right, so let's discuss Meecox.
Okay. James, would you mind pulling up the drone footage that Donnie took on February 25th, I think? So I just want to quickly explain where we stand here. You can see the perspective of the drone is really just such a great one. We're so lucky that Donnie Downs is licensed as a drone pilot, and hopefully at some point, perhaps the trustees will purchase one, and maybe James can get licensed as well, or
You
whomever.
got one. You got
What?
one? I got one.
Okay,
That's okay.
don't tell me that, Charles, because I'll be calling you too. Because it's so great. I mean, Charles, you know, from you flying it, it's super great. So James, maybe pick one that shows both channels. So
That one. Can you see that or no?
it's not enlarged.
Oh.
We just see the whole screen with all the snapshots of it.
No. All right, hold on. How about that?
Great. Okay, so the channel that we've been using, you can clearly see abuts the east side is right up against Scott Cameron. You can also see that it's been eroded over time because that's the spot that we've been opening it pretty much for the past 6 years. At this point, not only the wetlands, but also the dune system have eroded, are pretty critically eroded. And there is, although there is no danger to the Scott Cameron parking lot at this point, it is encroaching. The dune is eroding in that area. So we closed that deep channel on Friday, January 29th, I believe. There was a very strong nor'easter over that next weekend. The cut closed itself and then reopened itself where you can see it now, sort of midway in the middle of the trustee-owned property. However, as you can also see, there is just an exceptional amount of sand that's part of this flood delta. And when it drains, it's only probably 6 inches or so throughout that long stretch. So although the cut has been open since the end of January, the bay level has not dropped. It's keeping up, but it's really only a trickle. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but it's really only a trickle that's coming out of there. So we applied for an emergency authorization to do the one-time annual dredge, the 1,400-foot dredge, in the middle of February. I sent around an email today that request was denied. Subsequent to that denial, I spoke with Sue Ackerman, who is the regional permit administrator, since Sherry Eicher, the deputy permit administrator, was out this past week. I emphasized the importance and the critical time element here, since we are rapidly approaching the April 1st deadline for the piping plover season, after which time there's no work allowed on the beach. So it's such a conundrum and so frustrating. The amount of time and energy that's gone into this, not only on the trustees' staff and the trustees, but the people who contributed to the 10-year permit, because if we had this 10-year permit, we'd be able to dig that deep channel, that long channel. But we don't have that yet. There have been promises made. I have reached out to the acting regional director, Merlangi Genesee, who took Carrie Meeks Gallagher Place. And I have also reached out to Sean Marr, who is the deputy chief of staff or the chief of staff for the DEC. They are all aware of the problem, but it hasn't been solved yet. So I'm looking for, when I spoke with Sue Ackerman this morning, given that the 1,400 foot dredge would be fairly disruptive to the area, but is the best solution for the environment, Sue Ackerman requested of us to propose to respond to their denial of this 1,400 foot dredge, but with a proposal for a less disruptive activity. So
Yeah, but I thought that the permit was imminent. Isn't it?
that's what's being said, Eric, but I don't know. That's, you know, like, and here's the timeline. I mean, when I look at the calendar, if we were to do the, if we were able to get this permit, if we were able to get the permit for the 1,400 foot dredge, the estimate of work time by Chesterfields is 9 days. So we would have to start that work on by Friday, the 19th of March, in order to have it completed by Wednesday, the 31st of March. So
where are they going to get a hydraulic dredge in there that fast?
It would be by excavator.
Oh, by excavator. Okay.
Yeah. I've been in touch with Seth, just keeping him in the loop, but our hands are sort of tied. So to respond to Sue Ackerman, looking at the deep channel that we know works to lower the bay height, their suggestion was to put some sand along that eastern side. I mean, they also suggested bag sand, geocubes. I don't think we should do that at all, but we could take some of the sand and put it up along that dune that exists there now to fortify that, and we could dredge to the western side of that darker water where you can see that deep channel. It's not what we want to do. I realize that and it's precarious with that parking lot situation, but I do believe at this point, given the timeline, that it would be the most effective way to lower the bay, because as I said, the bay height has not come down in the almost 6 weeks since we opened it.
So Ann,
since
question.
it opened itself, sorry.
It opened itself. Question. What do you have authorization? What do we have authorization to do right now?
Nothing.
Okay.
Because I was hoping we were either going to get the 10-year or that we were going to get the 1,400 foot.
We, because of the fact of where we're at right now, so very close to getting these permits in place, we got to be careful right now with anything that we do. You know, you don't want to jeopardize or delay getting these permits in place, because without the permits in place and continuing to have to rely on the emergency protocols is really the cause of a good chunk of our problems, because of the delay and the damage that it does backing up the water table and the rest of the ecosystem.
Right.
So, I mean, right now it's in their, it's in, they've got the hot potato right now. And the last discussion I thought went very well between our attorneys and them. And it seemed that progress was being made, and we were weeks away from something occurring. Now, I understand what you're saying with the logistics end of it, but they have to understand that as well, especially if they're folks that are issuing emergency authorizations. I think we have to tread.
I understand what you're saying, and I completely agree with you. I spoke with Sue Ackerman this morning. She is the regional permit administrator. It's Sherry Eicher that really has been handling this, but as I stated, she has been out for the past week. She will be in tomorrow, and I intend to follow up with her tomorrow. But as I said, it was this morning that we received the denial for a second time for this 1,400-foot dredge. So,
Okay.
and I've made repeated requests as to the timeline for the 10-year permit, and we have nothing concrete, and we're out 21 days.
Right. Well, but my understanding is that, there was a meeting of our representatives that went quite favorably. That was my understanding, and that they were moving in a direction to remedy this situation in what I would believe after 7-8 years or whatever we've been struggling with this, that they were going to remedy this in a reasonable amount of time.
I thought that they were subject to a timeline that they had to follow. Maybe Sean can elaborate on that.
Well, I don't want to speak too much to the status. It is a submitted complete application. Myself, the trustees outside counsel, and DEC regional counsel had a conversation. At this point, we do believe a solution would be pretty imminently presented to the trustees, within a few weeks as suggested.
But we have until April 1st, which is the plover season. Once that threshold hits here, we're going to need all kinds of special authorizations to do anything down there.
This is where it on purpose.
Right. Currently, without a permit, you need special authorization to do anything.
So we're going to be going into the spring, summer season with a high bay, which is the absolute worst scenario because of all the flooding that's going to happen and be exacerbated by even higher water levels. We get rainfalls in the next week or so.
But realistically, they may grant.
Here's what we can do or what do you think? If we speak with Sherry Eicher tomorrow and we kind of do like a two-pronged approach, ask her what the timeline is or where we stand with the 10-year, but then do we also, to back this up, apply to open?
Well, but Sean's talking
to open. You don't apply for anything right now. You have a complete application. We've had communications that suggest a permit is imminent. I would advise against any action that would affect your permit potentially.
Okay.
What is it? Wait a minute. What is the time limit that they have to issue a permit after the public hearings are all closed? I thought there was.
After the close of public hearing, there's a 90-day period in which the DEC decide whether a public hearing is required, whether a permit will be issued without a public hearing, or in a third scenario where they fail to take action, an individual or trust such as yourselves can essentially seek out a permit administrator requiring a decision within 5 days. However, I have recommended this board against any action like that. So it's either a permit with a public hearing or a permit without a public hearing process.
Well, we have, first of all, you start making that cut on that east side, you're going to cause even more erosion. That whole bog will have to go in. Okay. It has to go through the middle. Second, Anne, have you talked to Fred Thiel? Is he mysteriously silent on this? I mean, being the representative there, he should be pushing for this to get them to issue that permit. I mean, we have an environmental disaster in the making as far as the shellfish in there, right? I mean, if this doesn't get open before the plover season and it drained and you have some interface there, you're going to go months without any increase in salinity or that oyster crop. Why are we even talking about, you better harvest all the oysters because they're all going to be dead anyway soon. This is ridiculous.
I mean, Sean, in the interest of not creating more confusion surrounding this and slowing down the process, I mean, do you feel that there's another follow-up conversation that Sean perhaps has to have with their representatives?
I can certainly join Trustee Welker on any call. The denial letter referenced essentially is stating 3 remedies to protect the parking lot potentially. I think we have bigger issues than the parking lot right now. I would forego any action right now until we can reach out to DEC and get a statement from them. I'm going to suggest you leave it alone as we have a complete application submitted.
Okay, so Sean, if we could talk tomorrow, maybe with them, and then if we revisit this, absolutely, pretty much on a daily basis, but then Monday at our meeting, we'll circle back around and discuss this more thoroughly, because that will be the 15th, which will give us 13 working days in between our meeting and April 1st.
Well, and keep in mind, even if a permit is issued, we can always make an application for emergency authorization during the endangered species if we need to.
They're very reluctant to grant that, Sean. So
they are, but if we can present emergency conditions, we'd have a basis to make that argument.
Don't we have an emergency condition now? What's the salinity in that?
16.
15.
Average 15, 16.
It's actually pretty good. But the issue that I have, and knowing what Fred Havemeyer dealt with, Billy dealt with, and Bruce dealt with, was protecting this parking lot at Scott Cameron. To me, with this drone footage you have put up on the screen here, it's imminently going to wash into the bay. When that happens, all the asphalt is going to be dropping in. It's going to wash into the bay. It's going to be a pristine white sandy beach is going to be full of asphalt and all this other stuff. The town is going to lose the ability of a parking lot on one of their prime beaches.
Right.
And we're not going to have the place drained. It's poorly managed. I mean, if we're going to do anything, and they're going to give us
Ed, not poorly managed by us. You mean the DEC?
I see bad things happening here, and I'm a fisherman.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Ed, don't forget about the spawning spring season, where the fish come in the shed and the burgers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it should be open for the LYs and all the migratory species to get in there to spawn. That's another whole topic I can go on.
Right.
But
I got time.
It's really. I will sit with Ann and I'll add a few more lines of stuff.
But I think that you need to coordinate with Sean, though, since he's been the point of contact on getting this thing to that point. You know what I mean? I think that if there's too much coming in from various different angles, it may convolute the process and slow it down. So you got to be careful. I hear what he's saying. So I think whatever you do, you want to be in coordination with Sean.
Well, we'll let him be the conduit to the DEC. We'll just give him the material. He'll draft it and send it off to him.
Sean?
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I'm available for a call whenever each of you would like. We can reach out to them and, like I said, see what their position is. Who knows what they, I don't want to speculate as to what they may say. Obviously, if you have a permit in hand, the situation is much better. than relying on emergency authorization.
Well, it's much better for everybody because you can hit your triggers that you know where an opening has to occur, and you can do it versus waiting weeks for a weather window, which creates a greater problem and a lot more stress on the ecosystem.
We're working.
But the DEC's put us in this position. You're
Well,
looking at it on this.
absolutely.
I'm looking at it right now. They created this monster right here. They did this.
They've created it every single time
wouldn't
because
even
we've been working off of emergency authorizations. And I've used the
That's right.
example of waiting for major pileups on the interstate before you send out the plow and sand trucks. It doesn't make sense.
I went down.
You can have a permit and you can hit a trigger when it has to be open, and you can take that action immediately. You can get a much better flush and you can alleviate that water table. And that helps out the farmers, the agriculture, the fishermen, the homeowners, everybody.
It's bigger than all of it. It really is.
Yeah.
If anyone has the opportunity to go down to the end of Beach Lane and then just take a walk down to the cut at Georgica, the East Hampton trustees are presently opening that. And I wish I had a drone. There are 2 excavators, an articulated hauling truck, and 2 payloaders there. And the pile of sand that they've culled from the flats in the back, it looks like a hotel, in your words, Ed. It is enormous. And they're like everything we want to be doing, they're doing, but they have a permit that was renewed in 2018.
Without a management plan.
Exactly.
They didn't need a management plan.
Exactly.
They held us to a higher standard.
Well, because there's more money in that particular area, in our area. What, has anybody contacted Fred Thiel? Is he weighed in on this, seeing that it's such a critical thing in his area? And he's the environmental advocate for Southampton town?
He's aware of it, but you know, Eric, it seemed to me, I mean, unless I'm getting the wrong impression, it just seemed to me that Sean and Steve made good progress.
I'm going to recommend we wrap this one up. It's not on for discussion. We have a pending permit application. I think we've gotten all the points out.
Yes.
We'll be in touch with you, Sean.
Thank you.
All right.
Can we, Sean, I attempted to reach out to you today and I wasn't successful. There was an email that came through from Lisa Combrink and Sarah Schaefer regarding the Woodhull Dam. Is that something that should be discussed now?
Oh, I think that they should come in so we can get those things on the table. You have, I saw those letters there from the saying that it's been determined that the county owns that entire piece in direct contravention to the Dungan patent, which says we own the streams.
We own the stream bed. They own the structure that's across the stream bed.
We have people from the some person from the DEC now playing surveyor and title researcher, I guess.
I'm not sure that I respectfully disagree with you, Eric. Just looking at the letters that were written in 2017, and also you yourself went to the DEC site and were successful in finding their language that stated that nothing would be changed. If we were to write a letter that said the completion or said something along the lines of the conditions currently on the DEC website remain in place, and that it clearly states in Chart Guthrie's letter in 2017, the completion of the Woodhull Fish Passage project will not provide the DEC with any additional basis to pursue a claim on Wildwood.
Okay, but respectively, Chart Guthrie is a low-level official. He's not an attorney for the DEC, and he's not the commissioner, and he can make any assertions that he wants, and doesn't mean anything. We want something from either the legal counsel or from the commissioner's office that
Commissioner's
says that nothing's gonna change.
Eric,
Short
Eric,
If I
is
may
a
interrupt,
low-level employee.
you guys are in a work session. This one's not noticed for discussion. I would suggest you do this on public portion on a regular meeting.
Yeah,
We have
Okay.
a
yes.
we have a discussion after every work period, every
Oh,
work.
I know, just so people are aware that it will be discussed. If
We
that's,
can bring it up again. And I did write a second letter, touching up that first letter. I submitted it, I gave it to Sean. You still have it?
you said you were gonna send off a letter on this one. So I'm not sure if you had actually sent it. I did review it at some point.
Okay, maybe if you want to send that, if you can forward that to the members, if you get a chance.
members,
Sure, I'll search my email for that.
Okay, okay.
us,
Our board.
Eric, do you mean members of the
Yeah,
board?
you.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Okay,
right.
okay, all right, we'll take a look at that. Yeah, it's just,
I have
all right,
no
I'll hold, and we'll put it on for discussion on Monday.
Right, sounds good.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay.
I had a couple other things, but I can hold if you want.
That'll be a good idea.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Well, just quickly, I did just want to say, Ligony Brook, that the marine maintenance was in there yesterday. It is, they're working on clearing it out so that the alewives can successfully make the passage from Sag Harbor Cove to Long Pond. It is dry, that brook is dry in some portions right now. But hopefully with some clearing of the leaves and some trees, it will be open so that the alewives do have a successful, because 2 years ago, there was a great deal of work done in there, and this remnant run was able to be reestablished, which was great. The only other thing is there was a call about Peters Pond Road the other day, and I spoke with Bay Constable Franks about it, and he said that is a large project, but that the marine maintenance guys will grade that before the summer season begins.
Can I ask you a question? Being that we let the Parks Department charge people fees on that road, parking fees, why aren't they helping us do this project?
That's a good point, Ed.
Yeah.
What's been done in the past?
Well, I mean, they have helped us out on some of the roads before we got our Bobcats, and asked to maybe Kristen Doulos for some, because I know they have a nice piece of machinery down there, John Deere, that could maybe help us together. We can accomplish the project. I know
Right.
Bruce and myself and John Semler and other trustees have done multiple projects down there. It's a real tough area. Half of it is paved, half of it is rock, and half of it is sand. So
Who's going to reach out?
I will.
That's fine. I'm going to suggest, that has not been requested to the Parks Department as far as I'm aware. We can certainly reach out to them for that.
we have asked for help like this in the past because they do pick to get money from our roads.
Okay.
No, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. I wasn't sure. I didn't know that Parks Department had been asked to assist in the past. Richie will be relieved.
Well, let's slow down a second here.
It's
Let's
either
make
that
sure
or
they
we're
can
gonna-
accommodate.
It's either that, we're gonna start selling parking permits.
Yep.
If you'd like, I could have my office coordinate with the attorney assigned for them and set up a conference call.
Why don't you do that?
Sure.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
May I be on that? May I be on that with you, Sean? Or do you just do it?
2 trustees.
Okay.
So who else would like to be included on that?
Edward, you
Oh,
want
we
to
can
go
figure
on?
it out.
Ed, okay,
Why don't
great.
you go on, Edward?
I will.
That's the way the cut should look.
Yes.
You're right. You're right, Charles.
See how it flows straight back into the bay and
Yep.
doesn't.
Yeah. So
Can we
that was
send
our method as opposed to the DEC's method that we see today.
Yes.
This was the last time we did that, Eric.
Bill's in charge of it.
Yeah, I think I did that.
Yeah.
When was that?
Must've been
2014?
10 years ago, something like that. What's the date on that, Charles?
It was last year, I think.
In the middle?
Yeah, but we need the all the way to the back of the
Right.
Back. Yeah.
rest of the shoals.
Yeah, that's what we did 8 years ago.
No, this was last year, I think.
It was 13 or 14 we did a big dredging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I also would like to bring up on Monday the discussion of alteration of the dates for combining the work sessions and the meetings in the same day. It's obvious as today, it's 5 o'clock. If we have to ask any of the staff anything, they're all gone. And everybody, we got 2 hours to jam in this stuff. There would be much better to go back to the old system in the morning at that day, then break for lunch, and then go into the regular meetings and there's less disruption to the office. So I want to bring that up on Monday.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
And what we do on the work session, we're going to the next meeting in the week, 2 weeks advanced, right?
Yes. Yeah. Same as it is now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Anybody else have anything else?
Now we got a whole other meeting on Monday. We could discuss this, right?
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Charles.
Great day.
Bye,